All right, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about socialism, with my buddy Nico here. Now, um, I just want to start off as I find a lot of kids these days um, are really siding with socialism, and I wanted to know what you think about that, Nico.
Well, there was a study in the US that about 50% of all young teens are opting for socialism. And I think that's a major problem because on the front side, on face value, socialism sounds like a positive concept. They offer you peace, prosperity, equality, diversity,
Right.
and then only for you to eventually find out that what you get is poor and everyone's stuck at the equality of the same misery. Everyone's stuck at the same level of misery. That's what socialism usually ends up being.
Right. And then also with that is that socialism just I feel it just promotes uh it's like anti-capitalist. So it's like it's entrepreneurs won't benefit. You know, everything's government owned. It's like you're not free at all, and that's a big problem. And the fact that lots of kids are going to socialism is really concerning for America in the future. And it's
One of the things that socialism lacks is incentives. Capitalism. One thing that capitalism has going is incentives are of the utmost importance. Market prices, profit and loss system of accounting, and private property rights provide an efficient, interrelated system of incentives to guide and direct economic behavior. Capitalism is like based on the theory, pretty much, that incentives matter, and socialism severely lacks this. One of the only reasons why people will ever strive to be the best in any society is because they want to promote inequality. If you want to be rich and you want to be the
mm,
best, that promotes inequality because you want to be better than the rest. You want to rise above the median. And in
right,
a socialist society, it negates the human spirit. Human spirit is essentially dead because you're nothing to work towards. You're stuck poor all the time.
right. Yeah, the social it's like the socialist state. It's kind of like a monopoly, you could say. It provides and controls all essence of life. Like media's controlled. Like if you look at people in North Korea, like fucking no one has a good life there. They don't know crap about the world. It's really sad to see, and just really you know begs the question: does socialism really work? And it just doesn't.
You know, socialism, it's not like this demon. It suffers a lot. It's not very good, but there's some countries who they do barely get by. Like some of the Scandinavian countries that have socialism, they do okay.
I
If you
guess
look at
so.
if you look at Norway, they have natural resources, but that's kind of the only reason why they're on their feet. Norway, they're happy, they're prosperous, they keep to themselves, and that's only
Mm,
because they have natural resources because their economy sucks. But the thing is that it does not apply to every situation because if you look at communist Russia, Soviet Union, they had tons of natural resources, an abundance of them, too much to deal with, yet they still suffered like crazy. And then you could look at a place like Japan. They used to be socialist, and now they're capitalist, and that could be part of the reason why they're as rich as they are now. But one of the things they lack is they lack the trust in the government. Instead, they have
mm,
trust in the people. The people trust each other. You could look at eBay, for example. When you first thought of the idea of eBay, like who the hell thought it would work? You go to
right.
people like the basic idea was that I'd send you money and you would send me junk. That's how it would work. But what what the eBay realized after it started up is that people are not that evil. It worked. It just worked. People trusted each other, and
Right.
they found that they didn't have enough people to pin on and make money off of because they failed because they had this whole security system set up where if you basically falsified your transaction or just something to scam the other person, you can get in big trouble. And so those people didn't make any money off that because people were insanely trustworthy. People were kind to each other. This is one thing that so Japan has going for them. That's why they're so rich. They used to have socialism. Now they have capitalism, and they have a huge ideology of trust, and that's important in a country. It's the greatest natural resource that you can get is trust.
Another thing about socialism is it's basically the abolition of private property in the means of production. So they basically eliminate the market competition for like land, capital, labor, and all that stuff, and it just really ruins the market. I mean, the only reason why countries like America were built up is because the markets and demand dictated what needed to be developed. Let's just say it was a huge demand for houses. Well,
Mhm.
Americans would think we need to build more homes. If there's a huge demand for like the film industry, we need to make more films. But in a communist country like Russia, that doesn't work at all. And in North Korea as well. Um, since the markets are controlled by the government, everything, just the quality and the things like the decisions like politically, economically are terrible, and it's just a misinformation. It's just bad.
So, capitalism plays a major role in global revival of liberty and prosperity because it nurtures the human spirit, something socialism
Nurture
fails
that
to do.
baby. Oh.
You're to cut that out. It inspires human creativity and promotes the spirit of enterprise by providing a powerful system of incentives that promote thrift, hard work, and efficiency. Capitalism creates wealth, essentially. Um, it's very important for people to have their own intrinsic motivations met to in a society.
Mm-hmm. Nowadays, people, especially kids, kids are taught nowadays in schools to avoid political discourse and things like that. And the problem with that is that if you're just gonna avoid political discourse and avoid these important topics, then how do you expect a country to thrive in an environment like that? It just it promotes, and that's why you see a lot of liberals nowadays protesting. Oh, Trump sucks. Oh, my vagina. Stuff like that. Um, it's because they really don't know anything about politics. They they don't ask the question why. You know. So,
The thing is, the idea of socialism is kind of where the acceptance of it on a countrywide scale is kind of where it stems from. The idea of socialism is distributed wealth, and you see it every day in your life as a positive thing. In your family, no family has a capitalist family. You're social. It's every
right.
family is socialist. The money is divided evenly in the family based on who needs it. The kids get less money. The wife and the mother share
Yeah. Yeah.
the majority of the wealth. It's majority of pretty much every family should be socialist. It's also one example I would like to use is the cookie jar example. When you're kids and you're growing up, and your parents will say, "Okay, listen, Jimmy and Bob, you do all the chores in the house. You can have the last six cookies in the cookie jar." And they do it. They do the chores. But Jimmy is very fast. He's older, so he's faster. He's stronger. He's much
Mm,
quicker. He gets twice the work done at the same time that Bob does. So when they go back to that cookie jar and they say that they're done the chores, and Jimmy says, "I did more work. Do I get more cookies?" As
mm,
any fair relationship should be, in that situation, the parents would always say no, because what about the person who didn't do as much work because he was younger? He wasn't able to. He didn't have that opportunity because he was younger, so he had the inherent disadvantage. The mother would still give each of them three cookies out of the six cookies. They would split it.
mm.
So now you're taught from a young age how important that is, that kind of kindness, and it's true. In situations like that, it's important to have that aspect of socialism. But the problem is people take that and they hear the promised prosperity, equality, and security, and what they fail to realize is on a global scale, on a country, socialism does nothing to promote poverty, misery, and tyranny. Equality
Mm.
is achieved only in the sense that everyone is equal in his or her misery. That's the reality. What happens when it's implemented on a global scale doesn't nurture the human spirit properly. Like, socialism is important, but it can't be implemented like that.
Right. Right. I can agree. Yeah. Yeah.
Taking out of what people earn, and it's another thing. It also ruins incentives for people to strive to be the best.
Yeah.
So one of the other problems with socialism is if you have a truck driver or a garbage driver earning the same amount as amount as a doctor, who in the right mind would want to go through 8 years of med school, possibly longer, to do residence, 8 years of university plus med school, plus longer for residency, if they're only going to make the same amount as someone who literally doesn't even need a year of education past high school? That's another big problem with
Mm.
socialism. There's no reason for people to strive for anything. Incentives are extremely important in our society because they're the only reason why people would want to do anything. Would you want to be a business owner if you wouldn't get any extra money? And
Mm.
so there were socialist countries in the past too, where if they don't get a surplus of cash, like say if you don't have a strong international trade, have a bad economy, and don't get a lot of money from natural resources. What they do is they have to rely on socialism to circulate the money from the rich to the poor in order to function, essentially. And so what they had to do is because business owners didn't want to do business there because who in the right mind would want to do that if your money is just being taken away and putting back to the poor, then coming back up and taken away. It's a stupid system, and so they tried to leave, but these countries realized that all these high ups are leaving, so they had to implement laws to stop them from leaving. Essentially, they had to keep them there because if the rich people left, their whole system is destroyed, and they obviously rely on that, or else they'd all be starving and fucking dead. Socialism basically states that you owe me something simply because I exist. Capitalism, by contrast, results in a sort of reality forced altruism. I may not want to help you, I may dislike you, but if I don't give you a product or service like working, you want, I will starve. Voluntary exchange is much more moral than forced redistribution, and that's one of the strongest points about socialism. It's voluntary exchange is essentially what capitalism is. You want to do it, you choose to do it. Socialism essentially, you don't have a choice. The government will take that money regardless of what your decision is. Whether you want to, because in capitalist, if you want to donate, you have to choose. In a socialist country, you don't have that choice. They just simply take it from you, and that's extremely unmoral. Whether it's just or not is something I'm not going to get into, but what matters is that it's unmoral.
All right, for the kids out there that know nothing about politics, if you have blue hair, if you're a little overweight in the scale, if you smoke a pack a day, let me offer you this solution, okay? Go to the gym, eat right, make money. Without any of those, your life is not complete. Now, I'm not gonna bring up women, okay? You're not gonna be a freaking a Drake, okay? I'm not asking you to be like a Drake, but what I'm asking you to do is to understand that a socialist economy, a socialist government will not work. And I don't know how many nails I gotta drill in your head to let you know that. But if I need to drill 30, then I'll do it. I'll do it, okay? And while I'm at it, I'm gonna smoke the biggest cigar.
So, moral of the story: if you want to be successful, all you have to do is two things: finish high school, don't have kids before you're married.
And make that money go.